What you're looking at here may very well be the death of mining and exploration in the Yukon. This is a shot of the Eagle Gold Mine, operated by Victoria Gold after it experienced a slip of its Heap Leach pad. The aftermath of that slip has been devastating for the local mining community. Not only did it result in the mine shuttering operations immediately after, but it has caused a massive impact on the region. Specifically, the First Nation of Nacho-Niakdun, whose treaty land encompasses the mine. And they've taken drastic measures in response. Now, this is important to understand for mining investors because nearly half of all mining activity in the Yukon falls under their territory. Let's dive in. Okay, so what exactly happened? Back on June 24th, the Heap Leach pad at the Eagle Gold Mine experienced a failure. The facility saw approximately 4 million tons of ore slip, which amounts to about 10% of the total ore that was stacked at the mine. About half of that ore slid beyond the embankment, meaning the ore became entirely uncontained. The Yukon government estimates that the ore contained 300 million liters of cyanide solution. As the ore slid down the hillside, it took out piping, pumping infrastructure, the liner used for the heap leach pad, 2 lengths of fixed conveyors, and what the company says is a small amount of electrical infrastructure. What caused the slip? Well, that's where things start to get hairy. If you ask the company, they are in the process of a root cause analysis. Notably, the slip follows a separate incident which occurred back in January, wherein a smaller slip occurred that had less drastic results. Obviously, there were some issues there. Now, if you ask Roger Lockwood, a former director of the Yukon Water Board, he'd likely say it's a result of the company flouting conditions of its water license. He went to court against the company back in 2022, alleging that Victoria Gold was increasing risk of a collapse by failing to recontour slopes of the mine, and that they were in continuous breach of such requirements. For the First Nation of Nacho-Niakdun, the specifics of how it happened don't exactly matter at the moment. What matters is their immediate response and the response of Victoria Gold. In the immediate aftermath of the slide, Victoria Gold arguably did one thing right. They notified the market, albeit after rumors flooded Twitter and the stock started to slide slightly before halting. But they did it nonetheless. But that's about where things end. The company arguably has done a piss-poor job of keeping investors and the public in the loop on their efforts to contain the problem. And the little information that they have provided has had some issues. After the initial announcement on the 24th related to the incident, the company took a week and a half later to put out a small update. And in that, they said that A, their creditors had sent notices of default to the company, but more importantly, B, no cyanide had been detected downstream of the property. That claim was nullified by the Yukon government hours later when the government revealed within the first 5 minutes of a press conference that elevated levels of cyanide had been detected in Haggard Creek, which is downstream of the mine.
The sample taken right next to the bottom of the slide indicates a cyanide presence of 8.58 milligrams per liter. This water is being diverted to a containment structure and will be treated by Victoria Gold. 2 sites downstream in Dublin Gulch show nominal levels of cyanide, measuring at 0.001 milligrams per liter and less than 0.001 milligrams per liter. The sample of concern collected in Haggard Creek, which is just downstream from where Dublin Gulch enters Haggard Creek, shows elevated levels of cyanide at 0.04 milligrams per liter. When we received these verified results, we shared them with the First Nation of Nacho-Niakdun last night.
To be fair, only a single sample to date has shown elevated cyanide levels, with subsequent testing showing normal levels. However, Victoria Gold didn't admit to the single elevated sample until 8 days later. And it only gets worse from there. The most recent inspection report from the Yukon government indicates that the company has entirely failed to meet demands. First, the company submitted water treatment and groundwater interception plans that were wholly inadequate. Specifically, they failed to identify the ability to treat the volumes from the heap leach facility and current inventory of contaminated water, and the ability to produce the large quantities of reagents required for the proposed water treatment process, among other issues. The company also failed to meet deadlines for constructing lined storage facilities, and what they did produce was dramatically smaller than what was demanded. A number of corrective actions were provided to the company, but it appears that the government is entirely losing faith in the company's ability to take control of the situation. This is what Deputy Minister Lauren Haney had to say on the matter when a reporter last week asked if the government was considering stepping in.
I will also say it is very unfortunate and frankly unhelpful that the company has been so silent in general and specifically around the actions that they are taking at site. And to be very clear, Yukon government is contemplating and is ready to step in and take action to complement or supplement what's already being done on site.
The First Nation of Nacho-Neakdun, however, hasn't been so forgiving. Well, the territorial government of the Yukon has been allowing Victoria Gold to proceed with its mitigation plans despite ongoing failures. The First Nation was much quicker to react. On July 3rd, just a week after the incident, they issued a directive that has massive implications for the region. They demanded an immediate halt to all mining and exploration activity on their territorial lands, while at the same time stating that the collapse is the most recent of many examples of how lack of mining regulation and negligent government oversight is threatening community and wildlife health and safety. Then they went on to say there must be an independent investigation and review immediately to understand environmental impacts from this disaster. All mining activity must pause until there is a land use plan that limits development and includes rigorous oversight and enforcement of mining and industrial operations on our territory. We will pursue every available avenue, including legal options, to protect and preserve our rights to ensure that this environmental catastrophe is addressed and the lands and waters of our territory are safe for the fish, wildlife, and people that have relied on them for generations. The implication here can be valued in the billions of dollars. Nearly half of all mining activity in the Yukon falls under Nacho-Neakdun territory. This includes Fireweed Zinc's Mac Pass project with an after-tax NPV of $448 million from 2018. Then we have Hecla Mining's Keno Hill project with an NPV of around $420 million. And of course, we have Snowline Gold's Rogue project with 7.3 million ounces at 1.5 grams per ton gold. Then we have Banyan Gold's Ormac project with 7 million ounces at 0.63 grams per ton gold. Of course, we have Sitka Gold's RC Gold project with 1.23 million ounces at 0.68 grams per ton gold. And then we also have Cantex's North Rackla project that has seen over 75,000 meters of drilling. Not to mention Victoria Gold's other projects, which include the Brewery Creek Mine and the Raven Deposit, which both contain 1 to 2 million ounces each, or the billions of dollars destroyed in investor capital as a result of this catastrophe. To make matters worse, the nation went on to say very few projects, less than 1%, are denied, and there is little oversight or enforcement of operations. The status quo is not tenable, meaning that they want even more regulation moving forward in a country already burdened by endless red tape when it comes to mineral extraction. So on behalf of all mining investors, thank you, Victoria Gold. So let's wrap it up. Where do things go from here? Well, so far it's unclear. An op-ed published last week by CBC says the worst is yet to come, with the opinions coming from individuals working closely with members of the Nacho-Neakdun Nation. Oh, and reports of a drug Disneyland on site likely doesn't help Victoria Gold's case. And if the territorial government does in fact move to seize the mine to take control of the situation, well, it might be the end of mining in the region for a while. The bright side is that no injuries were reported in connection with the initial slip, but who knows what environmental disaster may yet occur or how long investor capital will be tied up in the region.